Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we're discussing the legal drama between Rogers Communications and their former CEO, Joe Natale. Now, Ryan, in the last segment, we were talking about what you should do. I mean, if you're a regular employee, not a multimillionaire like the heads of Rogers, what you should do if you find out that you're about to be fired, the way Joe Natale found out. But one of the allegations in this claim, in the countersuit by Rogers against Natale, is that because Natale learned in advance that he was going to get fired, Rogers alleges that before departing, he awarded himself what they are calling excessive compensation without proper board approval. They allege that he negotiated a richer severance package than what he was entitled to after learning from this overheard phone call that he was getting fired. And they said that the amount he improperly received was about $15 million. They also alleged that this was a breach of his fiduciary duty as CEO. Do you have any response to or thoughts on any of that? And maybe you can explain the role of a fiduciary and how you can protect yourself as an employee if you learn you're about to get fired and to avoid a counterclaim like this.
Yeah, so a fiduciary is somebody who is a key employee who's put in a position of trust, typically an executive or, like I said, a key employee to the organization. And they have an obligation to act in good faith and to do things in the best interest of the company and not things that conflict with their company for personal gain. And so that's what the allegations here are, that Mr. Natale enriched himself knowing that he was going to be fired with a different compensation scheme, a higher one than that. And so we'll have to see how those allegations play out. But the best thing to do in these type of scenarios is reach out to a lawyer and discuss those type of allegations.
Now, one of the other allegations, Ken, is that Natale says Rogers tried to tarnish his reputation. This is a difficult case because I think there's a lot of public fascination. And I can see how sort of almost anything that Rogers says publicly is going to have reputational consequences for someone that they fire from this role. In addition to the fact that it's just a huge company that impacts almost every single Canadian. There was also this crazy family drama around the process. So how should companies act, especially in high-profile cases like this one, to avoid claims that whatever they're doing causes reputational harm?
Don't act the way Rogers did in this case. Don't release videos that can be leaked to the public. Maybe they should have had Mr. Cox come in and do that performance in person and lock the doors while he was doing it so nobody else could see it. But I'm joking. But no, I think you, especially in terminating somebody, you've got to make sure you act with utmost sensitivity to that person. I mean, being terminated is a very traumatic experience for employees. So they have to act fairly and keep it out of the public eye as much as possible.
I mean, I just don't know how you could keep this one out of the public eye. This one is some amount of publicity is inevitable in a case like this one.
Well, yeah, it would be reported upon, and Rogers, as a high-profile public company, it would have to be reported that their CEO has left. But they could do it that way. They could just work out a quick a deal with him behind the scenes, and just release a very benign statement saying he has parted ways with the company and we wish him well. But they didn't do it that way, and that's a problem for the company. I don't know that it will affect the company financially. But it might affect their ability to attract talent in the future. You think that somebody would be worried going into a company that did something like that.
Ryan, any thoughts on that question? Is some amount of publicity sort of inevitable given the kind of wild fact scenario that led up to Mr. Natale's firing? And how do you manage that reputational risk to your employees if it's going to be a public spectacle anyway?
Absolutely. These type of details, that's what sells. That's what sells to the media. That's why we're talking about it today. And so, these type of details, especially when you're dealing with an executive at a very, very large company, these things are going to happen. These details are going to get out. If I'm advising the company, I'm saying, let's try to settle this thing before it gets there. We don't want this in the public eye. let's try to resolve it. And like Ken said, I'm sure there were some negotiations here, given the length of time it took from the termination to when the claim was filed.
Right. We've got to go to commercial break now, but when we come back, I want to talk about one of the other allegations in this statement of claim that could have implications for, regular employees. This is the issue of an unpaid bonus. We will be right back.